calling to say I just calling to say I
ladies and gentlemen, the Sprint Series is back, and there may be an American voice coming out of your speakers, but I promise you, this is the European Sprint Series split. Hello, everybody. My name is Nick Amon, and I am joined alongside the two loveliest casters ever, Mr. Simon Bauer and Kevin Parody. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Good evening. Wonderful. How about you?
Doing pretty solid over here. Kevin, how about yourself?
Oh, it is so good to be back. I missed this all summer long. I got a little taste of it last year, and I'm really looking forward to having a go again. So thanks for having me.
Of course. So for this new season of OOR, things are a little bit different. You may have noticed that we're not really doing the whole red split, blue split thing. We had some internal discussions with the drivers and casters and pretty much anyone else involved in the Sprint Series, and we said, well, how about instead of doing just regular colors, we'll do famous corner names. So for the Europeans, they've chosen Raidillon. I'm fine with that. I don't know about you guys.
High speed, fast, and prone to lots of accidents. Perfect.
All right, Simon, any thoughts?
Any thoughts? I mean, I might have preferred Eau Rouge, although that's a bit of a controversial subject, I suppose.
Just a little bit. So, I think it's fair to say that Kevin and we are sort of intruding on your territory. I don't mind at all. I think it's kind of fun. Simon, I think you have the most experience with these drivers, so out of what we have currently, and I'm sure more will be joining soon, who are some drivers that have come back, who are some new faces, and who should we be looking out for?
Oh, here we go. All right, time to make myself unpopular. All right, no, I do indeed have bunch of experience working with these drivers. I don't have any experience working with, commentating on these races, but off we go. So the names I would be looking out for in terms of fast drivers, in terms of people I've raced before, the people I know are, of course, Mr. Coelho, right now setting the fastest time in our practice session. Then Felgen, of course, is last season's overall champion, I do believe, even though he is still counted as a Pro-Am driver. Right behind him, Vining has also won one of these seasons, one of these championships. Has actually beaten me, so can attest to how fast he is. And then, of course, we have a lot of returning drivers in the Pro-Am and in the Am divisions. We also have a whole bunch of new drivers that are completely new to the league, some that are moving up from the Rookie Series, so it's going to be a mixed field. Going to be new names, going to be old names, and hey, within the span of the season, I think we'll figure out how they all compare to each other.
I'd have to agree with that. I know Chris Vining, I believe, was in North America last season, so I think he's probably very happy that he's, back at home and not having to be awake until some ungodly hour.
I've been stewarding the American splits a few times, and yeah, I think it's 2:30 in the morning for me. So
yeah, and I think on top of that, he would have to, because I think Kevin, you started the broadcast with me, and then you and Chris would swap out for red split, or was it the other way around?
I was driving blue split and then announcing red. So.
Okay, yeah. So I would start the broadcast with Chris, and I remember the first time I was like, hey, I'm like, quick question, what time is it? And he goes, so it's about 2:30. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, we'll try to get through this as quick as we can. I always felt terrible whenever it was Super Sprint, because it's one thing if it's just regular sprint. You're like, okay, you have, you got quali, and then you have an hour race, and then you're done. But with the Super Sprint, it's just, you get 2 races, and it usually takes longer. So I always felt bad, and then, Kevin, you jump in, I'd be like, okay, I don't feel bad anymore. I can go to bed.
It just points out something about Octane Online Racing, though. I figured this out earlier today. I believe there are players in this game and racing in between all the series from 6 out of 7 continents. I believe the only continent we don't have a driver currently racing from is Antarctica.
Okay, so we need to change that.
Yeah, so and I might be wrong. I know there's a scientific base down there.
There
too,
is.
And they got to have something to do on their spare time, so we should work on that. But other than that, I mean, they're racing. It's always the middle of somebody's night when a race is starting around here between the European, the Asian Pacific, and the North American races. So there's always something going on and always something to watch.
Yeah, that's
going to volunteer for Antarctica.
Absolutely. I think we should take a moment to kind of talk about the schedule. So last season we had 6 races. This time we've bumped it up to 7. So we're here at Kyalami down in South Africa. I love this track. And then with the inclusion of the America DLC pack that came out a few weeks ago, next week it'll be Watkins Glen, a track that I have in my top 3 favorites of all time. And then we'll be back into Europe with Hungaroring, and then we go to the land down under for Panorama, and then we stay in the States for 2 weeks at COTA and then Indianapolis, and then we finish it off at Paul Ricard. So looking at the schedule, gentlemen, do you like these tracks? Are you not a fan of these tracks? I know personally I don't like Paul Ricard and Hungaroring that much, but everything else I like.
For me, a very good selection. I mean, these first 4 tracks contain my 3 very favorite tracks in ACC, and then there's, Hungaroring kind of pushed in the middle.
just to kind of like ruin the vibe for that one week. You're like, it could have been a perfect 3.
My 3 favorite tracks back to back would be a bit overkill, so we gotta tone it down a tiny bit. But hey, unlike most people, I actually kind of enjoy Paul Ricard as well, so it indeed is a pretty good selection for me.
Okay, Kevin?
Just a shame I'm not driving.
I am driving this year, so I'm really happy with this selection, because there's some tracks that, as you pointed out, individually you kind of go meh, but when you put them all in order, in this order, it's going to work, I think, because with that technical stuff at the end, it's going to end up being the driver's skill that decides this championship at the end, I think, rather than perhaps, car choice or anything like that. They're so different. There's some really tight ones. There's some really wide open, fast ones. You're going to have to be able to do everything well and set up your car for a lot of different situations. And we haven't even talked about rain yet.
No. We should also, I wanted to mention, with the Panorama race, we are trying a new extended format. So as in the past, we've had the sprint format, we've had the super sprint format, the super sprint being 2 20-minute races, excuse me. Or no, we've changed it. Okay, so it used to be 2 30-minute races. This season, race 1 is 20 minutes and race 2 is 40 minutes. So we still get that hour. Sprint is obviously just your regular 60, but the extended is going to be doubling the amount of time, or actually adding a little bit more time for quali. So I think last season we had about 7 or 8 minutes. Now we have 15. So for the extended race, we will be doing an hour and a half, and that'll be 2 mandatory pit stops instead of the regular one that we usually see with sprint. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to see absolute chaos in an extended race, especially at Bathurst, because that track is incredibly unforgiving.
It is a cruel choice for that extended format, let me tell you. Even an hour race at Mount Panorama is already one where it's extremely difficult to keep up your concentration, and a tiny little lapse in concentration will put you in the wall. So 90 minutes for a very mixed grid, some of them experienced drivers, some of them rookies. It's gonna be interesting to watch.
It is going to be spectacular to watch. It is 90 minutes on the mountain. You're going to lose weight watching it, never mind driving it. That's just tension, and I love it. And I'll probably be one of those people in the wall, but I don't care. 90 minutes at the mountain sounds like an absolutely exhausting, fun afternoon. So I'm looking forward to that one a lot.
Yeah, the experience I've had at Mount Panorama when I was doing sprint, it is, you could argue that a lot of these races are a war of attrition, but it's especially true at Panorama. Like we said, you have one slight lapse of concentration, and that's it. Sector 1 and 2, people look at and go, that's pretty easy. And you can, sector 1, it's a left-hander. and then you're into the mountain, not bad. And then sector 3 is coming out of the mountain and back to the start. But it's that second sector, the middle sector, that road is barely wide enough for 2 cars. And you know, in a race and qualifying, whatever it may be, you're trying to push the limits and figure out just where your car is going to be the most aggressive but the most stable. Sometimes you just misjudge a little bit and you get one tab. I've seen cars go off, or not, I shouldn't say go off, but you know, one minuscule tap on a wall and that's it, and they're wrecking.
And potentially taking a bunch of people with them too, who had nothing to do with the accident. It can be a heartbreaking track, because even if you do nothing wrong, you can be put in a position where there's no way out, and that's never good. But it's part of the charm, if I use the right word there, of that track. I think
Is that what we're using?
It's better than swearing, I guess.
All right, I'll give you that.
But you know, like I said, that's just one of the tracks and one of the sets of challenges this season. The Super Sprint, that whole format, I really want to see how this plays out. This will be my first time watching the 2040. That 20 isn't very long. If you don't get qualified well, first of all, you could be stuck in, you know, that sort of death zone of the mid pack at the start.
My game just crashed.
But even if you don't, then it's, you know, you're just getting started, and then you still got to keep it technically correct the whole rest of the race to keep it on the road here. So always a challenge, but getting through traffic here is going to be tough.
I'm a lot more excited about the 40-minute race, to be honest.
Yes.
With the fast drivers starting behind the slightly slower drivers. I mean, Kyalami turn 1 is already a pretty famous turn 1 in terms of crashes. It's not quite on Monza level, probably, but I've experienced plenty of car parks here, so that's going to be one to watch out for.
Isn't it turn 2, technically?
Oh, technically, come on.
Well, okay, listen, I know that this track has a history, especially with a certain Aussie in the OOR. I think we're all pretty aware of our good friend Mr. Mullick. Oh, it's still such a great. I love it. I love that guy. He's awesome.
Here, let me throw you a rope. Whether you make a noose, use it to get out of this hole, I'll let you decide. But yeah, for turn 2, 3, and 4 are all trouble on this track.
Oh man. Oh, I'm forgetting controls. How do I... Oh, I need the thing. I need the times on the side, and I forget what button it is. I probably should have done this beforehand.
But let's talk about that 40-minute race while you figure that out.
Yeah, do that.
That is, as you pointed out, that is going to be a really interesting challenge, because not only is there that reverse grid at the front, but there's that fight within a fight from 13th back where they get to re-qualify. And score quality points, I must point out, as I found out. But then, you know, they're sort of on it as well. So, and there's probably, unless there's an accident or some such in 2, 3, and 4, they're probably going to be a bit of a gap, because those very, very fast people in front of them are taking off to go and deal with the reverse grid that's in front of them.
Oftentimes the 13 and downwards positions are filled with fast drivers that might have had an incident, might have been spun, might have spun themselves.
Yep.
And well, now not only have the challenge of being sent to the back, but also not even being allowed to start, you know, at the front in the reverse grid race. So.
And as we were talking about before, tire wear here is going to be an issue, especially with some of these cars.
For sure. Yeah, in the 40-minute race, that's definitely going to be a topic. In the 20-minute race, you shouldn't be seeing too much of tires, but that makes the 20-minute race a whole different challenge in itself, because it's basically a 20-minute qualifying session.
Yes.
Where every single lap you have to push to the maximum. No real thought about the tires. No real chance to relax for a tiny bit. It's 20 minutes of full pushing.
Yes, and Kyalami, while it's a modern track, it can still absolutely destroy your car if you get it wrong. There's not the runoffs that, you know, places like Paul Ricard have.
a lot of opportunities for you to go wide, dip a wheel
Oh.
on the grass, get a pressure loss, or otherwise.
And we haven't even mentioned cheetah yet, which
Oh,
I'm sure
yeah.
we will. I'm sure we will mention it a number of times tonight.
Genuinely one of my favorite corners around here at Kyalami.
And chat, yes, you like Paul Ricard, not just because of the name, but also, yeah, finished after the rookie race at Mount Panorama. You don't even want to imagine 90 minutes. And as you mentioned as well earlier, there's that difference in the speed of the drivers. There's some extremely quick people, and if any track is going to show that, it's going to be places like Paul Ricard and the Mountain, where that technical skill is really going to show. So there's going to be some, fairly soon, especially in a longer race, a 90-minute race, there's going to be some lappage, and there's some places where lapping can go very, very wrong. But tonight's race is going to be really interesting. I think they're down into the 140s already, fighting for the front row of this. If they can keep anything remotely close to that up for race pace, this is going to be a quick 20-minute first race.
Absolutely. Currently, it's Valiant on top with that 140.882. He's the only person to actually break down the 41 barrier behind him. Delilah Hazel, 41.06, and then 12 thousandths up the road is Quilio with a 41.072, and then we kind of get a pretty big gap down to Chris Vining, a 41.362 for the Mercedes man, and then it's Ryan Walker with the 41.740, and that's your top 5, and then 10 goes Granis Sack, our Norwegian friend here, Sawian. He is definitely gonna hit me up and be like, hey, nah, man. And then it's Hearn and Parks for 9 and 10 at 42. And once we get to Matty Sack, then that's when we start going into the 42. So currently, I would say the battle for, it looks like P2 is on, and even maybe P4. But right now it is our Norwegian friend Felian at the top by quite the margin.
And I gotta say, so Felgen, Coelho, Vining, all very well-known names here in the European splits of OOR, but Hazel is, I do believe, a new addition, and it's beautiful to already see her up at the top. Well, not quite at the top, but very close to the top, less than 2 tenths behind pole.
That's amazing to see. Green equals send it. That's definitely a good name, especially with the color scheme. Don't have to ask Delilah what it's like in New York City because she is in Finland. But hopefully she's going to be showing us what it means to be one of the top dogs here in EU.
Always good to see a new name sort of come in and poke their nose up near the top and go, hey, I'm here, you're going to have to pay attention. It's not just you guys again. I don't know if I'm the only one that's putting my PBs on this list and finding themselves wanting, but these guys are quick.
Yeah, I saw a lot of discussion in some of the chat rooms for not just EU but even NA. I saw a lot of chat about it. People were saying, "Oh, what's your time here? What's your time there?" And people were, "Oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that," and "Oh, well, I'm this many, I'm this far behind. What are you doing here? I'm driving this car. Are you braking here or here?" So there's a lot of discussion. There's a lot of hoisting other drivers up so you can continue to make the competition even better, which is always great to see. But yeah, these guys, like you said, are insanely quick. And
I'm glad you brought up the Discord because they are so helpful. I'm a lower rated driver, but the tenths and the halves and in some cases the full seconds that I've knocked off of PBs because of the help I got in that Discord chat is amazing. A lot of racing places are very tight-lipped. They find a setup and they don't want anybody to know, or but not OOR. Everybody's like, here, I'll show you. Like literally, show me the setup page that they're running, and then tell me how it's not going to work for me and why, and what I should do to fix that. So, unbelievably helpful for Discord set around a game which is at its heart competitive. That's a rare thing.
Absolutely. And recently, the OR Discord has reinstated the different car channels,
Yes.
which puts the drivers that you could say main different cars, into road channels to share tips, to share setups, all that sort of stuff. And go on.
No, I was just going to say bemoan the fact that we hadn't picked a different car. Yes, all those things
Pretty
happen in the
much.
chat.
And while we're here, we gotta get into the, well, probably slightly uncomfortable topic of which cars are fast, which cars are slow around this track. And I gotta say, even though Vining is currently down in P4, about 3/10 off of Quelio, the Mercedes is generally not a great car around here. So he is actually doing a great job putting that Mercedes in P4, less than half a tenth off pole.
I guess to some degree we don't have to have that conversation. It's just been done for us. With a few exceptions, the top 7 or 8 are speaking volumes about which cars are quick on this particular track this weekend. I'm frankly a little surprised to see the Ferraris that close to the top, although I shouldn't be in the hands of drivers this skilled. It's one of those cars that if you hit the wrong curb with it, your day is over. But I guess these guys are so good, they just don't hit the wrong curbs.
See, it's racing I'm a fan of. It's the crashing I don't like. If you avoid the crashing, you're good. If you can, if you crash, just, make sure you don't pick anyone else up with it. I don't really have much opinion on cars here. The only thing I've driven is the boat, and that was it. That's all I did for Kyalami, and it was a lot of fun because some of these cars do struggle with certain curves, but the Bentley just says nah, that's breakfast. There's my dinner over there. You might not be the quickest thing or the best looking car, but you can gain a lot of time just by taking curbs a bit differently. And
as a BMW driver, I appreciate that and share that with you. Yes, some curbs don't exist for some cars.
Absolutely. Quelio, though, just now popping into the 40s with a 40.842, so that is 400ths ahead of Felion, and we actually are getting to the end of qualifying here. So currently it is Quelio on top, Felion second, Hazel in third. She's currently about even with her split, now just about a tenth or so down, throwing on the hazards, so looks like your qualifying session may be over. The only driver, sick drifts there. Keep it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Oh, I thought she had it. I was expecting the perfect drift into the pits. We look back though. Matty Sack was 2/10 up. He may be done. Guerrero here, currently sitting in P8 with a, or actually no, that's a P. Yeah, it is a P8. It has broadcaster controller is messed up a little bit. He's got a 41.7 and about 2/10 up. So should he close this out, this could actually put him P6. So we'll keep an eye on this man, see what he can do.
Interesting to note right now is that even though Mr. Guerrero is down in P8, he does have the fastest final sector.
It's true, he does. Yeah, incredibly quick.
Staying with that P8 theme, we've got 8 within 1 second. A 40.8 on the pole, and 7 other people went, I'm within a second.
We'll see if Guerrero can keep it going. Maybe, I don't know. Matty Sack is in the pits. He can't really do anything about it. Guerrero losing some time here. So out of the final corner, runs it just wide enough to keep it within the legality limit, but will not improve. So we hop into the first race here at Kyalami. Gentlemen, let's take a little bit of a drone shot through our grid here, see what we've got going on. So it's going to be Quelio on pole in the Audi, and then Felion second place with the Ferrari, another Audi of Hazel, and then the Mercedes of Vining. We mentioned that the Merc is not the best here, but Chris Vining definitely telling us otherwise. And then it's the Ferrari pair of Granius and Parks, followed by Walker in the Aston Martin. Guerrero we just saw in the McLaren, Sack in the Aston Martin. The honestly, that looks a little bit like a Buzz Lightyear livery, so better be going at the speed of light there. And it's Bentley, BMW, Porsche, Honda, another Mercedes down. So this can kind of show you the difference in drivers, even with the same car. Hendrickson in P14, Humans with the BMW, and then another Audi. We've got Kearns in the McLaren, another BMW down here of Ferguson, and then it's going to be Barton bringing up the rear. But of course, the patented OOR safety car sponsored and supplied by Ginetta this season. We switch it up a little bit. I don't know who is in the driver's seat. I'm going to assume Mullick, but I could be wrong.
The safety car driver is, a mysterious person who shall not be disclosed.
It's like a mascot. You never tell anybody who the mascot is.
It's our own Stig.
Yeah, it's our own Stig.
I was just gonna say, some say he never gets out of that car.
And that his feet are made of turbos.
We had to finish it with something.
Yeah, something car related.
Well, now we're stuck with making up one for every week.
All right, I'm gonna sit down later. I'm probably, because knowing me, I'm not gonna go to bed at a reasonable hour. I'm just gonna be like, I can't fall asleep until I think of Stig intros.
Well, you're gonna need 6 more. We got 7 races this year.
I can't even
this
count
one
that high.
This one is under a minute away from starting. This is that moment where everybody thinks they can win this championship. And this is the moment when everybody's equal. Nobody's ahead yet. Well, I can't say that. We did qualifying, but nobody's more than 5 points ahead. So it's really all on the line, and here's hoping that they take at least 20 minutes to figure out who wins this first race.
Things never go quite as you expect.
Oh, no.
Definitely not. So the final 30 seconds have clocked on through, so drivers are able to start the cars and get ready to go. If you don't start your car, you will be starting from the pits, which is a little bit less than ideal. So once this timer ticks down, the safety car will peel away. All right, usually, it's a little bit unorthodox going down the right side. Normally they go down the middle. What is going on here?
New season, new rules.
Oh yeah, it's in the Ginetta. They gotta show they're the bad boys of the safety car world. Well, it's
now this first warm-up lap of the season is gonna be a very special warm-up lap, because this is that little, moment of calm and quiet between sitting in the setup screen and wondering if you've, done everything right, and the excitement of racing. So this is supposedly a bit of a moment of calm and quiet, but it's definitely a lot of nervousness, I would believe, going on in the drivers right now, especially for the first race of the season, especially for the new drivers in the championship.
I was about to say that usually the first race of the season is always the most stressful, because you don't know, you may recognize people, absolutely, you have returning faces, this and that, but it's very, it's very clear to see that there are people that are new and you're not going to understand how they drive just yet. So, especially, I feel like with the super sprints, it's a little bit better to start with, because you have extra time to figure out other drivers. But yeah, this is definitely one of the most exciting and nerve-wracking times of really any season.
And in my experience, in every single new OOR sprint season so far, we've had one, completely new driver to the league who shows up and basically shows everyone else who's boss. I've done 3 sprint seasons in OOR, and I've come second every single time, because every single time I went into it and thought, yeah, I know these people, I could win this, and then someone new shows up who, double crosses my plans.
Double cross. How dare they make your life difficult? What kind of driver would do such a thing?
Hey, and who knows? Perhaps it's Hazel this time.
Probably, but cars now lining up 2 by 2, just popping into the cockpit of one another, just checking to make sure the seatbelts are fastened. Safety car pulls away, so getting ready here for some European action at Kyalami. 19 cars on the grid. It's Audi, Ferrari, Audi, Mercedes in those first 2 rows. The man from Portugal, Mr. Nelson Coelho, on that pole position, Felion joining, and then the newest driver, Delilah Hazel, down in 3rd position. But as they go across the line, we're going to get ready here. Gotta wait on the safety car, and we're green here for Kyalami. It's an excellent start from Quayla and Felion, already pulling away from the pack. Hazel having to fall back to Granius, and then Vining just doing what he can to stay ahead. Slight 3 wide here as we go down into turn number 2. A lot of 4 wide action there, a little bit of a touch there from Sack onto the Bentley of Soyen. As everyone else, though, getting through that second turn, a turn that's normally known for its chaos and carnage, seems to have just stepped away for this race. And look at the gap that Quail has already gotten as we get out of these first couple of corners.
There's still a little bit of door banging going on right near the back, but we are basically down into single file. I think and I think we're all still moving and all still essentially one pack. Well done. The first corners of the season.
Absolutely. Yep, drivers now just taking the time to warm up the cars. You can see everybody coming down the side of the road there. It's a beautiful sight to see all these manufacturers coming up and showing out. We got some 2x2 action there. It looks like it was Chris Vining having to deal with Granius for a second. A little bit of a switchback move maybe for the Ferrari driver, but he is going to have to slot in behind. Does not have the opportunity to overtake, but hey, the race isn't won in the first lap. You've got to get to the end. But it has really been quite the run for Nelson, who's actually lost some ground on Valiant. So Valiant catching up just about half a second back, and then you can see another group forming of the next 3, and then you've got just the whole pack doing their own thing. So this is shaping up to be pretty good here right at the start.
Everyone gets through Cheetah without issue so far. Impressive.
Have you just cursed them? You can't just say that. You can't say that.
It's most of a lap away. They'll have forgotten. That battle for 3rd is certainly...
Ooh, Vining.
There's a little twitch. I don't want to say cork in the bottle quite yet, but there is some cars piling up for 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Yeah, Vining getting a little loose there. It was Granius having to get onto the brakes to avoid contact, and Hazel actually taking advantage of the situation to push herself back up into P4. So currently hunting down that P3 once again, just peeks to the inside, but no room there. Maybe a little bit of psychological battling going on as you see Fallon and Quelo leaving your screen, and then the rest of the pack will probably jump around a little bit. Partez, P12 currently in the Honda, having to deal with some Porsches behind, and well, the German manufacturer is really hunting them down.
We've got some diving and some, I'm not sure if they're moves yet or whether they're just designed to get somebody to take a defensive line, but 8th, 9th, 10th, Walker, Sack, Swayan, and Vischer are all over each other as well. In fact, really, other than the front 2, the rest of it's still pretty much together. Speaking of that front 2, no holds barred lap 2.
We saw Partez go for that dive down the inside, and it worked for a moment, and then he lost it. Thankfully kept that NSX pointing in the right direction. Chris Vining, look at him go so defensive down the inside. He's gonna touch with Hazel. That's gonna knock her out of line, but she's slotting back in, and she is actually gonna get the inside for this next corner. And the Finn back up into P3, but Vining's not done yet.
Good tight racing, a little bump addressed immediately. I call that absolutely fair racing. And there, you were right. We've got 16 minutes left. That means 4 minutes is gone already. This is flying. There are no gaps. Everything is still on the line for this one.
This entire section between turn 2 and sunset is a very, very good section for racing, because in every single corner, the other car has the advantage going into the corner. And by the way, I do apologize profusely, because Cheetah has indeed claimed a victim on lap 2.
Oh, who was it?
It was Mr. Barton.
Oh no.
Now being sent down to last place.
You just had to say something. What did I tell you?
It wouldn't be a Kyalami without Cheetah claiming an early victim.
Yeah, but you gotta, you know, the whole caster's curse thing, because now that someone's made that error, now we get blamed for it. So if you just don't mention it, then it's like, oh no, that's driver, that's not our fault, we didn't do that. we are faultless in all of this. Not the fault in our stars, but the fault in our cars. Hopping back into the grid here, Hendrickson having to deal with Cairns and even Ferguson. So this little battle going on, and Hendrickson slowing down. I don't know what's happened, and that's going to send Ferguson out wide. So Cairns is more than willing to take that, and he slots himself into P16.
We have Walker and Parks going side by side into turn 1 right now.
Yeah, inside line there for the Aston Martin. He is going to pull ahead there. Very textbook overtake. Parks thought about it, but definitely not in the position. And that might actually give Sack a chance to catch up, as he's dragging his fellow British manufacturer, the Bentley, up. The Bentley not the quickest in a straight line, but again, we talked earlier about the curb usage from the boat and just how you can gain time from it. But fortunately, Vischer catching up in, I believe that's the well, not the new, but the relatively new BMW.
Still newer than the other one, of which we shall not speak.
Howdy. Been tearing up servers. Matty Sack, though, looks like pulling alongside. Not the best spot to go for a move, but this is going to head down mineshaft. So we'll see if maybe he can get something. But that Aston Martin, one of the things you got to deal with on that car is the turbo lag. And coming out of some corners, it is deadly. Sack close enough. Later on the brakes, down the inside he goes. And it looks like he is going to overcook it. Heads out wide. Right back comes Parks. He's not done yet. They were going to go through Cheetah, and it's going to be the Aston Martin driver backing out. And the Bentley pulling up. Maybe a move around the outside. They're door-to-door onto this straight. Can the Bentley take advantage of the turbo lag? Not quite. And actually losing a little bit of ground, but oh, I was fully expecting a door-to-door through Cheetah.
Overlap all the way down the front straightaway, heading through that first non-existent corner and into the second. We come through clean. Back at the front, we've got a little over half a second. We're getting a bit of a gap. I think the race is, I don't want to say for third yet at this point, because one tap and that could all change, but at the moment there is certainly a gap between second and third. Third, though, that's a fight. That is a battle pack from their back. Within a second, there is a bunch of cars, any one of which looks capable of getting around the one in front.
Yeah, Hazel dropping down. Hazel was up in third, and she's tumbled down to fifth. So Vining getting up into third again. Grania is taking over that fourth. But yeah, this battle's heating up. Coelho still holding on to that lead, about half a second, and it builds a little bit. So I was looking earlier in the lap, it was about a second, and it's coming down and going up. So it looks like these two drivers are trying to gain any sort of time they can on the other in corners they know that they have down pat, and trying to minimize how much time they do lose in corners they struggle with. Oh, and speaking of struggles, there's the Ferrari of Felion, an absolute banger into the wall. What happened here?
Oh dear.
Looks like through Cheetah, and then just right onto the grass and right into the barrier. He keeps going. He might just say, you know what, I'm gonna carry on, wayward son, but he has a lot of damage on that Ferrari.
Pelican has to return to pits.
Absolutely. There's no chance he sticks around. Yeah, pulls off to the side, and he's back, so that's 3 minutes right there.
Cheetah's that corner. It'll kill you if you go too far inside, but if you give it too much respect and give it too much room, it'll kill you on the outside too. It's one of those few corners you can crash into either wall, the inside or the outside on the exit. I guess that's part of it. What was the word we used earlier?
Charm, I think. Yeah. I don't know if charm is really the word, but I guess the charm is getting faster lap time. It's like a siren, It looks beautiful, and then you get close, and then it kills you.
Well, you get it right once, and you think I can do this every time, and then you're not always right. You had spoken earlier about Hazel dropping back a little bit. There is a bit of front-end damage on that car, and apparently that, I would suggest, is probably affecting their ability. Oh, there's some contact between the 15 and the 25, and dragging some other innocents in amongst it. So that's Sack and Swayan have come together. Looks like they're all straightened out, but they may be somebody looking into that.
Most likely.
Well,
Back in the...
door.
Ooh, who's that going down the inside? It was Guerrero. Just thought of a move down on the inside of, not Cheetah, but I believe that's Crocodile. Wasn't quite successful, and Vischer actually catching up. Same with Hearn and Partez. So it looks like we may have this very nice group starting to form. Hearn tried to get the move done into the final corner, but just not enough exit speed. And he'll just slot back into P10, and that is going to give Partez a bit of that slipstream. You saw how far to the left Hearn's going, and you see Vischer down the inside as well. Double 2x2s into turn number 2. But this could go with tears, and it doesn't. Oh no, it was
3 out of the 4 of them, and it might not be done yet.
No, we're gonna roll that one back. Simon, walk us through it.
I'll have a quick look. Give me 1 second.
Oh, I'm already got it. Up onto the curb, just that bump with the McLaren. One car that's very, you know, it's very sensitive to just changes like that, and it will kill you. And Guerrero's still having troubles drifting it through Sunset. But yeah, unfortunately, some drivers getting caught up. Thankfully, no terminal damage, so these guys can keep going, but incredibly unfortunate.
Yeah, some pretty significant rear end damage to Guerrero, some pretty significant front damage to... Oh, and they've come together again.
Have they? Oh.
That McLaren does not look fun to drive right now. That rear end damage is really upsetting the car. It's not easy to keep on track with that sort of damage. Vischer, on the other hand, has a lot of front end damage that is, you know, gonna slow you down a lot. That's gonna introduce a lot of understeer, but at least it keeps the car somewhat safe.
Yeah, that car looking quite battered within the final 10 minutes here at the first round of Kyalami. So they'll have a chance to come back, especially with that reverse grid for the top 12. It could shake things up a little bit. Moving back up into this sort of mid-pack here of 4 cars from Laer, Kearns, Humans, and Soyan, if I ever get this one right. Sialian. Whatever, I'm not.
Please PM us if we're getting that wrong.
Yeah, please.
I would very much like to get it right. As someone who has a last name which is occasionally mispronounced, I would very much like to get yours correct.
I mean, I DM'd him directly. I'll probably do it again. Be like, hey, just to double check, right? Oh, goodness. If only I could speak more languages than just English and then a tiny bit of Spanish and then swear words in other languages. I'd be pretty much set for life. But right now, yeah, this little pack's starting to form up, so this could be where the action is well, Coelho is I mean, he's just gone. He's got over a 6, now 7-second gap, probably closer to 8, over Vining. Vining actually getting promoted up to P2, so I'm wondering what happened there. Because he was running, I believe, P3 for a while. It must have been Granius here. Must have had some error, and Hazel actually catching up, so she's hunting down a podium right now.
Coming back, absolutely getting used to that slightly damaged car, maybe finding those new braking points, those new turn-in points, and working with what you've got. If that is what's happening, that should be a challenging sign to some of our experienced drivers, because that is difficult to do. Finding a new fast in a damaged car.
I see an exciting fight for the final podium position.
The gloves sort of came off at I think when they heard that halfway, 10 minutes to go, the gloves came off a little bit. We're almost down to 5 now. We're starting to count laps at this point. You've only got so many opportunities left. And yeah, they're looking racy. Even when they're not going for the pass, they're definitely trying to put each other. Ooh, there's some shuffling and sliding around there. But they're definitely on notice. Oh, and our first penalty has been handed out. 10 seconds to sack.
We don't know what that's for just quite yet. Gotta wait for the race control bot to update us through the penalties channel, so hopefully we get that. Or maybe it might be broken. I don't know if AP was clean. But we'll definitely keep an eye out and see if we get any sort of notification anytime soon. But hopping back here, the battle for P9 continues. Karen's having to deal with a Bentley around the outside, and Karen's getting demoted to P10, and it looks like Partez actually trying to get in on this. Look at this little train we've got going.
Oh, every one of them looks a little bit faster than the one in front, don't they? This could... oh, 3 wide through here. This is not...
Oh, goodness.
I just about finished the sentence and said it couldn't work, but they made it work. They are not done yet, and they are pushing the limits back there. That's great racing.
Incredible. We saw Humans going for a bit of a move, and speaking of moves, oh, Karen's almost going into the rear right corner of the Bentley. Thankfully, brakes on that McLaren just strong enough to keep that from happening. We'll lose time, and Human's also losing a bit of time as he goes onto the gravel. So Partez currently looking to pick up some positions here as we go on to yet another lap here. Less than 4.5 to go.
We've got Hazel right up behind Granez. This is definitely on for the final spot on that podium. That damaged Audi and what appears to be a pretty crisp and clean Ferrari in front of it. We'll have to see how this plays out, but there is less than 2 tenths between them at the moment.
I do wonder where that damage came from, because I haven't seen a lot of bumping in those first few laps, honestly. But yeah, a podium in your very first race in the sprint season would be a hell of an introduction.
Yeah, that'll make you the rest of them sit up and pay attention for sure. And I knew, you know, like, as you mentioned, coming in stirs it up every season. If it means you finish second 3 times in a row, I guess it does. That's never been an issue of mine. I'm never that close. But as you said, a new challenge, a new face, it always makes it fresh.
Absolutely. Let's hop back a little bit here. Tristan Ferguson, currently the top of the 2 AM-rated drivers, having to defend from the Audi of Leer. Wait, oh goodness. Oh, it's okay. Yeah, I'm gonna figure this one out. Probably should have hit up my Danish buddies as well and be like, hey, question. But Ferguson, I'm assuming, is one of the newer faces here in EU?
No, I've definitely seen it before.
Okay. I mean, he's doing a pretty solid job, and as I say that, it's Casper, the friendly ghost, getting that move done, going up to P14, so he'll be looking to grab more positions if he can in the final 2.5. Moving up, though, Karen's still having to deal with Partez. Partez actually getting around Humans, I think. Or no, he was already around him, so now we go down this front straight here. You can see Karen's all the way over on the left just to cover off the inside line, so we'll see if that pays off as they go through turn number 2. It looks like it does. Humans catching up, but not enough for a move, and for the time being, Karen's holding, praying by a thread to that P10.
Should have this lap and one more, if I'm thinking, depending on where the leader is. Yes, I believe one more lap after this one for the first of our 2 races, and we've got a 5-second penalty for causing a collision. 2 of them, in fact, unless that's the same penalty repeated twice. Explain the 10 seconds.
Probably. We still. I thought that was in the penalty channel. It wasn't. We still have ones from last season. But yeah,
okay. Pardon me. I saw them pop up on screen. I was just reading.
Okay. All right. Well, my HUD is not as detailed. But yeah, onto the final lap we go here. Kyalami. It's been a breeze for Coelho. Just get on pole. Don't worry about anything else. It doesn't matter. So he'll be sitting pretty, vining. Still another lap to do for that P2, but it's going to be Granius, it's going to be Hazel going to pull around the outside, maybe go for something here into this second corner, keeping it nice and wide, and could she get this move done? Oh, almost a touch there from the 2, and down the inside she goes, but just that damaged Audi keeping her from reaching the fullest potential of that car, and Granius still somehow staying ahead, if only for another few corners and one more lap to go to the outside. The Finn goes. Is she going to make it work around Sunset? I don't think so.
Oh, but going for the over-under, which leaves you on the outside for the next corner. I think that's just every single corner there is. I guess there's no time like the present. This is the last lap. This is as hard as you can race without running into each other, and I'm enjoying every second of it.
Absolutely. Grania's picking up some more distance here, but Hazel doing everything she can in her power just to get close enough, just to get a move done, but I think the damage may be too much for the Audi to handle. And Quailio currently getting ready to go through Cheetah one more time. Let's see if he can keep it together. Yeah, it takes a very safe line there. So in this first race here, it's going to be the Portuguese man on pole, starts on pole, finishes on top. A lights to flag victory for him, so he'll be starting P12 in the next race. And behind him, Chris Vining, showing us that even though you may be in the worst car for this track, you can definitely make things work. And Grania's holding off the Furious Finn and coming home in P3, P4 for Hazel Walker, making it P5. Parks in P6, Sack in 7th, Hearn 8th. Our Norwegian friend here, who we can never pronounce properly, coming home in P9, and Cairns actually getting overtaken at the end by Partes, so Partes picks up that P10.
Never over till it's over. Drive all the way to that last corner and all the way to the line. Is the message there. They back part of the field starting to come around and finish up this first race, while the first ones I'm sure are already back in their setup screen changing stuff for race 2 quali. Those of them that have to go through that process. So 13th back, I believe that will be Hendrickson, and those in arrears of that time will be going out to qualify for race 2. Top 12 can start worrying about their strategy now.
Yep.
And I gotta say, that was a very enjoyable first race of the season. That had drama, that had close fights, that didn't have too many penalties.
Yes.
So, fingers crossed that's a sign for things to come.
Lots of good racing, and I guess technically that 20-minute race should be the more frantic of the two, so looking forward to seeing a lot more nose-to-tail racing during that 40-minute second sprint.
Absolutely.
We'll see a lot of desperate overtakes.
Yeah, especially towards the end of the race. You know, usually with these super sprints, the first part of that, the first part of the race is more just getting things settled, and then, you get to the end and you start saying, okay, I've got 15 minutes, I've got 10 minutes, I've got 5 minutes. Like, I got to make a move now, and hopefully it doesn't end in tragedy, but you never know, things can happen. So, as we finish up race number 1 here, we will take a look at the timing. So overall, it's Quailio, Vining, and Grania's on top. In the Pro-Ams, it's Walker, Hearn, and, oh boy, here we go. Ready? Sayan. Apparently, that is how it's pronounced, Sayan. That was what I was told by the man himself, so I'm going off of his word.
Thank you. Okay, we'll work that.
And then for the amateur class, it's Vischer and Ferguson, and then those that have yet to be rated, it's going to be Hazel, Parks, and Sack, your top 3, and then the safety car, obviously on top of the national, as always. So for those of you who are new to this and don't quite understand the sprint or the super sprint format, the way it works is, you have your first qualifying, and then that sets the grid for the first race. The second race, the top 12 drivers will be a reverse grid for the second race. So if you finish in first, you're going to start in 12th. If you're second, you're 10th. If you're third, you're going to be 10th, and so on and so on. And then everybody from 13th position and down will go out and qualify. And this actually has a bit of a knock-on effect for the next race, because what will then happen is the race director will have the safety car pull forward, and then the race director will call up your reverse grid top 12, and then everyone else will follow. However, the game does not know that we're doing this. So what the game is doing is it's waiting for whoever was considered P1 in qualifying to cross that, start-finish timing line, and that's when the race starts. And that can throw some people off, I've seen in the past.
The very first track that I had the pleasure of experiencing that on was, of all tracks, Spa.
Oh, God.
And waiting and waiting and waiting to go almost to the bottom of the magic high-speed zone up the hill of doom before we went green. So we were well down at the end of the straight, and it made for a very exciting start because you did not get up even onto Kemmel at anywhere remotely close to race speed. So it changes things, but it's really very interesting.
I feel like that also has a bit of a downside depending on where you are when you go green. If you're starting closer towards the bottom and you get green flag, there's less run up for you to work with. So you end up going up Eau Rouge, or up and over Eau Rouge a lot slower than those who get to start further back.
Who are technically, I mean, if they're, if you were, say, 12th place, they're technically faster than you, and they get a runner. It gets wide fast. It gets 4 wide fast down Kemmel. But we've got the first corner, or pardon me, the second corner here again. To appreciate this time. We got through it first time all but clean. And this time they've got twice as long to resolve the rest of their issues. So once we get qualifying here is started now for 13th and down, we get that order started, we get them all lined up and ready to go, and we will be back at this for twice as long as we just went. And no scheduled pit stop either. 40 minutes, all one run.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Normally with I feel like drivers usually end up having 2 setups for these kind of races. You have one that's, low fuelage for the 20-minute, but then you have one that's higher fuelage, and that can kind of change things up a little bit because, the developers of this game, Kunos, have done as much as they can to make this as accurate to the real-life sport as possible. So, you might not think of it as much, but fuel does have an effect on your car and how it handles. The more fuel you have, the heavier the car is. You may have to back your braking point up a little bit. Your turn-in point might be here. You might, have the added bonus of being able to maybe slam on the throttle earlier, but then as you go through the race, you use more fuel, your car gets lighter, and you have to adjust. It's these subtle little things that can really separate great drivers from amazing drivers.
You definitely do feel the fuel. And there's not a huge difference between fuel for a 20-minute race and for a 40-minute race, but these first few laps of the 40-minute race, you'll definitely want to be taking a bit easier to get used to the slightly different feeling car, just to make sure that you don't make any tiny mistakes, that you don't compromise the tires too early, that sort of stuff.
And as we mentioned earlier, this 40-minute race for some of these brands, it might start to tire wear and graining might start to be an issue towards the end of it. We're going to watch our lap times and see how they drop off.
I'm very interested to see how Partas will get along, because in the Honda I very recently had a race here that felt perfectly fine for the first 30 minutes of every stint, and then as soon as we hit that 30-minute mark, the tires fell off a cliff. So the last 10 minutes of that race might be interesting for Partas. We'll see.
It's also one of those tracks where if you spin, you lose, at least in my experience, you lose a lot of your tires reserved, and they get bad very, very quickly. It doesn't take long, and it doesn't take much of an excuse to get really square in a hurry. We're looking now, we've got 13th and on back out on track, so we're looking at, what's our current top?
Currently it's Fallion on top with a 42.18, and then we have Guerrero here in with the 42.3, excuse me. Currently 3:10. So should this lap go well for the Swiss driver, it'll be a provisional pole. Obviously, once you sort of account for everything else. But yeah, right now drivers, only 6 of them out on track. Everyone else in the pits just kind of getting themselves maybe calmed down a little bit. Talk to the race engineer in their head. My doctor said that's not normal, so I'll probably have to get that checked out, but I don't know about you guys.
Well, I'll take an extra race engineer. I don't care if he lives rent-free in my head. But this is one of those situations we talked about earlier, where someone who had an incident in the first race and ended up well out of the top 12 has now got this opportunity to score some qualifying points and at least make sure that they're starting as 13th, right behind the fastest drivers, right where they were when they had their incident. and with any luck, they can sort of follow them through, and we can have another great run at the front with our sort of top 10 drivers in the top 10 by the end of the race.
Yeah, and as long as there aren't any big troubles, I think Felgen should be able to put it on more or less pole in the second quali session. And in that case, I'm very, very excited to see the continued battle between Felgen and Coelho. Because those two were putting a lot of pressure on each other. In the end, Felgen sadly lost out. But if you had a look at the times those guys were doing, I believe it was a 41.1 or 41.2, the fastest lap from Coelho, and then only 1/10 slower from Felgen, and then quite a few tenths down to P3. So these guys were, just in terms of pace, in a class of their own, and seeing them charge through the field from P12 and P13 is going to be something to watch.
Absolutely. Those times are only 4/10 off of their qualifying time from round 1, so that is a spectacular race pace.
Like I said, it's 20 minutes essentially of qualifying.
Yes. Now we get to concentration, I think, for some of our drivers towards the back of the field might come into play a bit more in a 40-minute race too. Sometimes your mind wanders. It's hard to believe you can be nose to tail with 10 drivers and suddenly you're thinking about lunch. I know the best drivers don't do that, but it happens. So the 40-minute race, there's that extra little level of concentration that's going to stick in here too and make a difference, I believe, over time.
Yeah, of course, not only going to be the tires that fall off towards the end of the race, it's also going to be concentration. Yes. Especially since we had this 20-minute race where it was really 20 minutes of absolute maximum pushing for most of these people.
And then where you can relax, and then bang, here we go again.
And then you're going to be a bit compromised, even if you still feel energized, if you feel up for it, you're going to be a slight bit compromised from that 20-minute race.
Certainly. And then you're sitting in the pits as well. I'm sure some of the top 12 had a chance to sort of have this 5-minute or 10-minute break and get the first race out of your head. You know, if things went wrong, lose any little grudge you might be carrying, and shrug your shoulders a little bit, tighten those virtual belts, and get ready to go back and right the wrongs and end up where you belong in this second race. We are, the clock has run down. We're put some official times up there. Felgen 141.7, Guerrero right behind, only 6/10 down. Fisher right next there. That second and third place, very, very close together. Looks like a lot of folks have just chosen to start where they finished the last race rather than go out and qualify.
I think so. We're just waiting on the last drivers here. Layers off. Fisher just taking a quick power nap. Ferguson, though, around the final corner. So this will conclude qualifying. So does Felgen on top with that 41.7. Guerrero. Oh, okay, just switch it over, I guess. Never mind. He's P2. He had 40 whatever. I was reading it right as it ended. And then Fisher, Layer, Ferguson, and Hendrickson. So now looks like we've got some nighttime conditions, 7 p.m. local. So this is looking pretty darn good for these guys and gals. We'll see just who can navigate the field the best. Definitely one thing we do like to talk about is, as we were saying and kind of alluding to earlier, is that reverse grid and how it really kind of plays out, because you end up being behind drivers who are slower than you in the first race, and that can be, you can say, oh well, I'm faster than this person regardless, so it shouldn't matter, but it does, because now you have to change up how you do things, and you may end up losing a bunch more time and letting the guy behind you catch up. So keeping your nose clean and also staying fast is going to be a bit of a challenge, I feel like, for some drivers.
And making up that time you think you should be while still maintaining your tire wear and your sense of safety, and little door-to-door is okay, but I'm expecting 40 minutes of nose to tail, exactly what we saw in that first race. You talked about 20 minutes of quality times. Let's see if they can do 40 minutes of quality times, because it looks like that's what it's going to take to win this race.
these lighting conditions are going to be adding, a bit of an extra step of a challenge to this whole thing. Of course, it's still somewhat bright now, but I think towards the end of this race, things are going to get pretty dark. Although, going to be a gradual fall off, so the drivers will have time to adjust rather than going into a full dark race right away. But I gotta say, it's actually a bit disappointing that we've missed the proper sunset here at Kyalami, because Sunset Corner, for example, carries that name for a good reason. That is a corner where at sunset, drive exactly straight into sunset. I'm sure you've seen videos, images of real drivers going through Sunset Corner and holding up one head above their eyes to shield themselves from the sun while going around this, I don't know, probably 200 kilometers an hour, maybe slightly less, corner with only one hand. And surely in the sim it's not going to be as much of a challenge, but it still compromises your vision a lot.
It does. And it's a beautiful sunset, but like you said, you end up guys going down a hill with one hand on the wheel, and it's like, you know what? That's why you're getting paid to do this, and I'm not.
That's right.
I do it in a game where there's virtually zero repercussions for me messing up. But for you, well, it's a bit different. But then again, you do this all day, every day. I do this once a week. But safety car pulling away. So the race director, you notice that the cars are sticking back. So the race director is going to be calling out the reverse grid order of these drivers. So whoever was in P12 will be promoted up to the P1 position. And safety car going really far. I don't think the safety car ever goes this far. But
they usually stop before turn 1.
No.
You could argue that turn 1 is a little kink.
Yeah, I technically, according to the the official track map, the kink is turn 1, which is dumb, especially because you have things like Austria, which has what turn 2 is that little kink. I believe, I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, it's and then you have things that are, more than that, and they're like, oh, it's not a corner, and it's like, okay, well, hold on a second there, Chief. You said this was your idea, not mine. You said this. Oh, goodness. But drivers lining up in, it looks like a straight line. I think EU's done it. Yeah, it's a pretty straight line.
Pretty good.
Good job.
It's getting a bit weird towards the end.
Yeah.
This is always one of my favorite rituals for every reverse grid race. Watching this line, seeing how straight it is. I got a bit of a break between Vining and Curlew here, but
yeah, that's okay. That's just
for the most part.
It's
nice
a stretch.
How many
It's a stretch
people
for
have
this.
put their headlights in somebody else's car?
Hey, you got to look at the detail in these. Honestly, some of these cars are insanely detailed.
But we were talking about light and it getting dark. Somebody pointed out in Discord today, Kyalami is one of the few tracks that has no track lighting. So for a race to be going into the dark on it, you are headlights only in this race. So it adds a little twist. I was wondering why I couldn't see anything when I was practicing at 9 p.m. local time.
Yeah.
Impressive how dark it really gets around here.
Yeah.
It's honestly comparable to Bathurst or Mount Panorama, which also has no track lights.
Yes.
But then, if you think about Bathurst, it also has walls right next to the track,
Right.
basically everywhere.
Mhm.
So it really constricts your vision a lot. But at Kyalami, I was driving in the dark for the first time just last week, and it honestly felt very, very similar to Bathurst. Even without the walls, your vision is very limited. It's very hard to see all the important apexes, especially Cheetah. So once again, one to watch out for this one.
Yeah, that's the one thing I noticed when I was practicing for the 9-hour way back when. I was just like, all right, we'll do some practice in the dark, get ready for the race. And I remember going around, and I set it right to midnight. I'm like, if I'm gonna get used to anything, it should be the absolute darkest that this game will give me. And I remember driving around and thinking, there's no other light. I don't know if I like this. And it's scary. It really is. Like you said, especially through things like Cheetah, it is kind of terrifying. And even the front straight, a spot you would expect to have these lights, but not quite. So I'm gonna pass it off to one of you to do the start this time. I don't know, Kevin or Simon. I'll let you guys fight for it.
Hey, I'm a first timer. I'm gonna leave it to Kevin for now.
Good move.
We are waiting, and as we said, it'll be a slightly delayed start because we wait until that number 1 car crosses the line before we go green. We've got Ben Humans out in front, along with Cairns right behind. We are just waiting for that light to fly. We are so close. And we are off. Oh, 3, 4, 5 wide into the first corner. At the front, it is stable, getting very stable. Off. We've got
4 wide. Oh boy.
4 wide. We're not done yet. Going into the second, third, and fourth corner. We're still not finished. Heading into the tight turn at the top of the hill, we are still 2 wide. At the front of the pack, they seem to be getting away. But that was certainly a more, shall we say, aggressive start than the first race.
And I do not believe it. It's the winner from our first race. It's Coelho, who's getting spun in turn 2. So he's now gotta, well, overtake the whole pack instead of just cars 11 and down.
We saw, boy. There's a moment
week.
from Parks.
Very tough week. We are again up at the front, doing quite well. We're finally down to single file for most of our pack. Got a few fights still side by side, but for the most part, I think we're now starting to watch the car ahead and looking for those weak spots, waiting for those tire pressures to build, and sort of coming up with maybe a slightly more long-term strategy.
Yeah, tire pressures. Go ahead.
We've had Barton going off in the S and hitting the wall, so he is not having a good start to this season.
Oh, that's a bad day. Codio and Barton both with very rough first races of the season for both of the races today.
Everyone else getting sorted out here as we finish up the first lap. So it's actually going to be the Bentley leading the way, getting around the Beamer. So this could be something to keep an eye on with just how the Bentley can handle some of these corners, maybe gain more time than it loses. But a lot of drivers here starting to get settled in through this race. Just a lap down, and we've got a little over 37 minutes to go here, and things are just heating up. I know we mentioned earlier tire pressures. Tire temperatures also are things that we need to keep an eye on, especially at night with the lower just overall temps of the air and even the track. It takes these tires a lot longer to come up to that operating window, so that is another big thing that drivers are going to have to keep in mind as this race progresses until they can get things sorted out.
Oh yeah, we're at 17 degrees right now, track temperature and ambient temperature. Now, if the drivers paid attention to that and adjusted their tire pressures accordingly, that's not going to be a huge issue, and, you know, not a huge focus point throughout the race. But perhaps, maybe some of them have not paid attention to the temperature, are maybe running the same pressures as before, and they are definitely going to be seeing the tires way below operating pressures.
Hopefully people have night setups, and at least if they don't, you know, like you said, adding some pressure. We saw Granius there flashing his headlights earlier. Maybe a little bit of an annoyance for the Porsche in front of Hearn, but nothing too crazy. Everyone's slotting into single file, so I think for right now, drivers are just going to say, you know what, I am going to just take it easy and get ready for these coming minutes.
There is that philosophy that one of the best places to make up places is right at the start of the race, and if you're very good on cooler tires and are good at not getting them grained up very quickly, then that can be true. So we've had our little burst of that, and as you said, I think people might be settling down now to look in a little more longer term, pushing the person ahead into making a mistake. As I say that, they're going side by side again all over the place. But
well, what else are you gonna do? It's actually gonna be, it appears, the BMW of Humans losing 2 positions and potentially a third as Vining forcing his way through, and he's gonna be on that inside line. So that has been a disaster for the BMW driver, and yes, Vining does push through. So from second down to looks like 5th. Definitely not the start the Britain wanted.
We've shown again today a couple things. Kyalami, you can definitely pass here. You have to be kind of bold to do it, but if you make your intentions clear and get it right out open early on, you can do it. The other thing we've shown is fast, and getting away at the front with a couple seconds behind you, like we're seeing now from Swain, that helps. 2.8 seconds and growing. They're the only one on the track right now that isn't fighting anybody. And as anybody who is of an age to have watched Michael Schumacher drive in F1, he's pulling a Schumacher here, just getting away and not having to worry about anything but not going off the road.
Touch there on the back of the Porsche from Granius. A little bit of a love tap there, just let him know he's there. And that's actually going to give Walker and Fellion a bit of a chance. Are we going to go 4 wide through turn 1? No, we are not. They decide against it. Perhaps now is not the best time to go 4 wide. Hearn pulling away. And Hazel actually doing a really good job of catching up now. Currently in P11, so she's trying to make up as many places as she can. But she's got an Aston Martin to get through, pulling out to the right side there. Almost doing a little bit of touching there, but not quite. Around the outside she goes, and she may actually have the inside if she's brave enough. She is going to go on the inside on the brakes, but not close enough for a move. Onto the Ferrari, and back again fights Walker.
Oh, this is quite literally as close as you can get. Like, touching close, but still not wrecking close. That is some skilled driving right there. I imagine the tension levels in those cars are, well, to the level where people probably aren't doing very much breathing.
That is the one thing I've noticed when I race, is I'm like, do I really need to breathe? I'll take a break. I'll take a breath on the straight, and then I gotta save it for the whole lap, because all the brain power has to go to keeping my car pointed in the right direction. That's sort of how I see it. But yeah, these drivers, God, it's like everyone's just sitting there. They're not really going for a move. They're just sort of sitting behind the other driver and saying, "Oh, I might go for it. You don't know that." And hopefully force an error. That's the one thing with motorsport, is it's a lot of psychological warfare that goes on. You might just show yourself flicking to the inside and then back again to try to offset someone's line just by a little bit, or maybe have them miss their brake marker by a couple of meters, and that can throw off their exit for the final corner. But it's definitely something that I feel like we should be talking about a lot more, as Hazel and Walker going door to door here.
Well, you already has made his way back into P12, right behind Hazel and Walker right now. So he might mix up the battle as well.
Oh, that's true. He's been sitting there for quite a while. He was sitting behind the BMW and the McLaren for what felt like an eternity. And it's just, oh god, it's...
just in front of them. Felgen got himself quite sideways and made quite a save. So we've still got a lot of very talented drivers getting very, very wiggly as they're working their way through the pack.
The two Audis bit of a switch there. Out of Hazel, she has to take to the runoff. Thankfully, joining back safely. Oh boy, almost getting knocked by one of the BMWs. I believe that was that may have been Vischer, or it could have been Ferguson. I believe it was Vischer, so very, very close, and she finds herself all the way down the order. Unfortunately, Hearn and Felgen, though, they are not even close to being done with each other, but the inside line for the Ferrari looks like will promote the Norwegian up a position, and Walker also gaining a bit of an advantage in catching up, and same with Cuello.
There's a block of these cars moving towards the front, and I don't know if they had an official plan, but it's kind of looking like a come on, let's go, we'll fight it out when we get in the last 10 minutes race at this point.
Why have a plan when your plan can just be make the car go fast? And Hearn's leaving the door wide open, and Walker will take that, says thank you very much, and puts himself into P number 9. Cuello, the man on a mission, goes down the inside. There's a touch there onto the Porsche, thankfully keeping it together. Cairns and Vischer will gladly take that position. And could we see 3 wide through sunset? I don't think so. Cuello's going to give us a really good overview of this. Vischer down the inside of the Porsche will gain that position. And here's Cuello coming in door to door here with the McLaren, and everybody getting through that just nice, and then more door-to-door action behind them. This is amazing, especially from this mid-pack.
Not just a level of driving talent, but the trust. It shows. This is, to be honest, one of my first times watching the European server race, and I am flat out impressed. These guys are racing hard, and fast, but safe, and within, I think, reasonable racing limits. It's door to door, but it's not banging. It is literally rubbing each other, but not wrecking. This is spectacular racing. Part of me wishes I was out there, and part of me is kind of glad I'm not.
We're going too wide into Cheetah. Let's see who pulls out.
Interesting. It's Cuello. Oh, goes wide onto the grass there. Is that going to give Vischer a chance? I don't think so, and that's going to open the door for Hearn as they go through. It looks like Walker picking up a 5-second penalty that may have been for some contact we saw earlier in the lap, or perhaps earlier on in the race, but these guys are really giving us a show right now. This is why I always love these reverse grids, because you have some faster drivers having to deal with, I don't want to say slower competition, but having to deal with drivers who are not up to par with them, and having to, pick their way through the field, and how that kind of offsets everything that they've worked for, as we see the McLaren of Guerrero going into the back of Vischer. We're going to have to roll that one back and just see what happened. Kevin, walk us through it.
I'm just catching up here. It looks like they, side by side coming in, heading up the hill. Tap of the brakes. This looks like a both committing to one spot to me. So far they turn in and bang. That seemed like a difference of apex speeds to me. That car behind is technically supposed to know, but when there's that much difference this early in the race, sometimes it's easy to get up into them.
Yeah, there was a slight a secondary break there from Vischer, and that, I feel like that threw Guerrero off a little bit, and unfortunately had to, well, there was nowhere to go, and we saw what happened. Oh, we've got a car facing the wrong, is that the race leader? That's the race leader. Oh, is this?
They have spun out, and given the position on track, I'm going to assume that was a self-spin.
Yeah, there was a slight jump there through Cheetah and then onto the gravel. Oh, jeez, these guys very, very close. And it's
safe.
Oh God! And out of all the cars, it's the Bentley to spin. That's very hard to do sometimes, but through Cheetah, you can say it makes sense. Whoa, and we've got Grandias going for a lovely little move onto Partes to take a position back. But yeah, that was the power of Cheetah. You just get a little bit too close to the inside and she'll bite you, which is interesting because Sayan was, he had quite the gap. I don't know why he was going so close. I mean, maybe the gap was closing, but that's what happens, how quickly things can turn.
That is not all.
Go
ahead.
I was going to say, on Cheetah, one of the things that I find is when you try and be careful, you let off a little early, but then you turn in and you get a little more bite than you thought you were going to because you let off earlier, and suddenly you're headed right for that sausage again. So it's it'll get you when you're being safe, and it'll get you when you're pushing the limits. It's I guess that's what it's for, and it's a love-hate. I love it when I get it right. It's like the mountain at Panorama. When you come down the other side and you got it just right, you'll love it. For that few seconds, you're top of the world. And then it's lap 2. But these guys are on it now. It's absolutely changed the pace all at the front. Suddenly we've got Park, Sack, Vining, and our fastest driver of the race at the moment, Grandias, in 4th place with a bit of open air to close up on this top 3. Just as I say so, Colio takes our fastest lap in 9th place, who I think we have to give the not give up award today to Colio. The second race, they've had it bad 2 or 3 times, and they're still in the top 10 and still fighting.
We've now got the darkness coming into play as well. The sun is now basically completely gone. There's still a tiny bit of lights hanging around in the sky, But that is not really helping the drivers right now, because at this point where it's almost entirely dark but not quite, you know, the natural light is not enough to really show you anything, but your headlights on your car are not at, you know, peak performance just yet. So, you know, it's it can be a bit confusing sometimes, but actually when it's completely dark, that's often where you see more than in these sort of, you know, low light conditions.
Yeah.
That's just where your car's headlights work better.
Yeah, it's sort
So
of like
this is a very critical stage right now.
it's driving in the dark, like, you know, like we were mentioning. If you've ever driven down like an old dirt road at like midnight, it's almost exactly like that, minus the whole, you know, very defined layout and barriers to keep you from, you know, going anywhere beyond where you should be. But
about 150 kilometers an hour.
yeah, exactly. I mean, how much different is that from rallying? And that's probably even more dangerous. But you were talking about headlights not really being up to performance, and I know some people hear that and go, "What do you mean they're not up to performance? They're headlights. They either work or they don't. There's really no in between." And you know, if you've ever gone into a very dimly lit room and you turn on a flashlight, you know, you can still see a lot, but there's still some things that the illumination's a little weird and you can't see as well. But then once you get that room fully closed up and, you know, dark, then, you know, the flashlight works better. So I feel like that was something that, you know, kind of, some people might have been scratching their heads saying, what do you mean their lights, they're on or they're not? Whoa, we've had
another wreck at the front, and some penalties applied.
See this one again.
This race will not stop producing more interesting footage, shall we say.
What happens here? So it looks like, oh, it's actually the Ferrari there of, I believe that's Parks, out of Sunset, and he you know, going around the following corner, he just clips that inside curb a little bit. Oh, he's taking to the grass. Ferrari, I guess, making lawnmowers now. But yeah, he just got to the inside a little too much, unsettled the car, and everybody got around him. And speaking of around him, it's the man from Portugal, Nelson Cuello, who is just on a tear right now.
And with the penalties as they are currently applied, post-race, they're in 5th. No, pardon me, they're in 4th with the
No, it'd be 5th because Partes doesn't have a penalty, thankfully. So Cuello would be right up behind him. But of course, why wait for penalties to be applied when you can just go around somebody?
Just go around them. We're not even halfway yet. We've had a couple major incidents up at the front. This has got to be giving heart to some folks who were maybe at this point thinking, maybe I'll settle for where I am, and suddenly, bang, I'm 3 positions closer to the front. Maybe I can keep pushing. Maybe I can get this. Felgen back up to 3rd. Cuello up to 6th and counting. You know, the Vining and Human still in the top 10. Even after their spin, Swayan is back into 10th place and closing on the person in front of them. So this is a long, long ways from over. We've still got 22 minutes to go almost, and still lots of racing to be decided.
Absolutely, it's been interesting. Go ahead.
We're seeing a lot of little mistakes right now that sometimes are having, you know, minor outcomes, sometimes having major outcomes from the drivers so far. And that's, you know, no doubt is now to some extent down to the lighting conditions, to some extent also due to the fact that the track is probably a tiny bit slippery right now. Since, of course, in these colder conditions, the track generally is faster than in warmer conditions, but especially at night, it also gets a tiny bit slippery. And if you haven't experienced that yet, that can be very, very dangerous.
Absolutely.
And also the life cycle of these tires as well. There are, I'm not going to go into the details because I don't understand them as deeply as I should, so I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert, but they do come and go over the course of a stint. There are sections where you have to sort of ride with what you've got and wait for them to come back. So perhaps we're getting to that area as well. We're also at that reevaluating point, coming up on halfway. Where am I? Where do I want to be? And some of them are just saying we're coming to halfway and I need to make up some positions, and they're going too wide going into turn 2.
these drivers probably slowly getting acclimated to these colder conditions and, you know, figuring out where the car is in relation to how it was in the previous race. Felion upgrading himself to P2. We saw a very, very textbook dive bomb back about a lap ago. But, yeah, currently, these, whoa, there's a, oh, goodness, there's the Honda of Partez getting a little bit loosey-goosey there on the exit, and that will demote him down. So Walker currently in P3, however, with the 5-second penalty, looks like Vining may get that, and actually Cuello does have a 5-second penalty as well, so even if he clears these guys, he's still going to open up that gap.
Well, now we've got that race within a race again. The three with the 5-second penalties are racing amongst themselves, and then we'll figure out where they slot in overall at the end. But I gotta do a shout out here to Vining, to take what is this Mercedes, which is commonly known to not be the best car in this field, and be running in the top 5 for the second time tonight. That is first a commitment to Mark that I appreciate. It also shows a level of talent and what can be done if you spend enough time. If you really love one car in this game, you can put in the time, you can develop the setups, you can develop the driving style, and you can be competitive. The BOP is constantly changing in this game, but you can always, as we can see, with enough talent, you can make up for any supposed lack of some of these cars.
Absolutely, and if he can stay within 5 of Walker, then that's an automatic podium.
That's bragging rights there. Yeah.
That is, that's saying, hey, I might not be the best, but I'm better than people who should be better than me. So what's going on there?
That's what I've seen from Vining so far in the past as well. There might be a handful of people who are, you know, beating him on pace, but he's always there. He's always there to pick up the pieces, always picking up the P3, 4, 5, picking up the points, and that is actually how he won. Well, I'm not sure what season exactly it was, but it was my first OR in the sprint season that he won.
Yeah, it just goes to show you that you might not be at the top constantly, but if you can be consistent, I should say consistently, you know, somewhere near the top, you can still win. You know, just because you're not winning every race doesn't mean you can't win a season. But, you know, if you're going to be consistent, be consistently in, like, the top 5, even the top 3. If you were like me and you're consistent like mid-pack, you might not win. You could, but you can't. But Vining, definitely, like you said, you know, he was consistent and he won when you were doing sprints. So we'll see if maybe he can try to repeat that success. Time will tell, though.
We are seeing the same names are starting to rise to the top. This reverse grid order has done exactly what it was supposed to do. It's created some great racing, a lot of passing, a lot of very exciting driving and exciting fun racing to watch. And it's not done yet because we've still got some folks that are not done climbing the ladder. Felgen has got the fastest lap and is now within half a second. Granya's in front of them. They've kind of got that race to themselves, but again, from there back, nothing is written in stone. And from what we've seen tonight already, nothing is written in stone, even when you are out in the front on here.
Of course, these drivers probably looking at the time, seeing 16.5 and going, all right, you know, it might be time to switch things up a bit and start planning the attack. You know, I've sat behind so-and-so for quite some time. Eventually, I have to pull the trigger. I have to get these moves done because there's only so much time left in this race. I don't think we'll see too many desperate moves, probably for maybe another 10 or so minutes. I think usually within 5 is when drivers are saying, do I have a realistic chance? And by realistic, we don't mean, you know, a 50 or a 60 or a 70. We mean at least like a 1% chance. Is there something there that says I could be in the universe where this works? And like I said, you know, we won't see that for probably another 10 minutes.
This is that gathering information phase. I'm faster than them here, but they get out of this corner better than I do. How are they doing that? Is it the car? Is it the driving? Am I missing an acceleration point? And just, yeah, all those plans. that again, if you spend too much time thinking about how you're going to get around them, you forget which next corner is and drive into the wall. So there is that to consider as well. And it brings up an interesting point with the virtual racing. We, for the most part, unless we're part of an esports team, most of us are our own crew chief and our own strategist and our own driver and our own mechanic. And if you're trying to be all those things at once while driving in a darkening environment on a track full of very talented drivers, it is very easy to spend a quarter of a second doing the wrong thing and suddenly finding yourself in a very bad place. So overall, for the first race of the season, the concentration so far has been exceptional. The driving has been very, very good, very respectful for the most part. And we're starting to see some pushing. We're just riding along with 8th place now, and they're all up over the curbs. This is not done yet.
And on a little side note, I gotta give a little shout out to Granis in the lead right now. He's not only, in the lead, but also in the lead while driving with his low beams on. Every other driver I can see has his high beams on, his endurance lights, except our man in the lead, who definitely is seeing a lot less than the other drivers behind him.
Now that's muscle memory.
It's also probably slight weight reduction or something, right? Light has some weight to it. As Granya's a little weaving down the front straight there. Vellion's he's just been on his tail the entire time. Looking at the last laps, the two Norwegians, the man behind in the yellow Ferrari, a 42.5 and then a 42.8 for your leader. So this has gotten a little bit dicey here in these final laps. I thought there was going to be a move there from Vellion, but not quite just yet. Granya's trying to just push and get every little second he can, every millisecond here and there. But I don't know how much longer this can go on for. He's going to force Vellion around the outside, but he's going to have to slot back in. So for the time being, it is the number 23 car in the lead, just doing everything possible to maintain it. But there's 13.5 minutes left. There is so much time to go here. There is so many more opportunities for the overtake to happen. It's just a question of when and where.
And they are holding nothing back. Both of these cars just wiggling under braking and spinning and sliding around under acceleration. They are meters apart and driving like it's 2 minutes left, not 13. Well, we talked about having to do close to quali laps to win this thing, and they're proving us absolutely right. We're in the mid 142s for our front runners for their best laps of this race, and that's most of those laps have been racing other people, so not prime laps, but they're not done yet. There goes racing further down, Parks and Swin and Hazel all having a fight on their own as well.
Yeah, Hazel, driver from last race, who did exceptionally well, has been struggling a bit. She made up I think a few positions at the start, but then lost them due to slight errors. But right now, she finds herself trying to get around Parks with that 5-second penalty, so she knows she can stay there. But realistically, you got 12 minutes. Why stop there? Why not keep going? And it does get the overtake done quite handily.
Only a little over 1 second ahead of that next position, which does count and doesn't have a penalty applied. So yeah, every meter counts, and every corner you're behind somebody can get frustrating, and sometimes that leads to bad decisions, but this was not one of those moments. That was exceptional driving, especially, as we've said, for somebody who is at least new to this series. I doubt very much they're new to racing, but they are at least new to this series.
Yeah, and looking a little further out, Vining on track for a podium finish once the penalties get applied to Walker and Cuello towards the end here. If he can just stay within 5 seconds of Walker, then he'll be all set. But he's about half a second off of Walker, so he's not really worried too much. Just sort of get things sorted out and head out from there.
And unfortunately, Guerrero is up to a total of 25 penalty seconds.
That is rough. I know part of that is for the tap he had on Fischer some laps ago. I think that was it might have been 10 or 15 before, so the extra time, I am completely unknowing as to whether or not he is, or what he did. Tristan Ferguson, though, saying he DNF'd as he only had 4 liters of fuel left. Unfortunate, to say the
We
least.
have a change in the lead.
Oh, we do. We do. Is it far enough back to where we can catch it?
Yep,
Maybe.
hit it.
Yes.
Proper send down into turn 2.
Let's see it. Oh, that is beautifully done. Just far enough back to lull Grenius into that false sense of security, and then just pulling the rug out from under him and getting the overtake done. Job well done there for Falion. Now he's building that gap up already. He's wasting absolutely no time. He wants to let Grenius know that, hey man, you've been here long enough. Let me show you how a real driver handles P1.
That was a great pass. It was a late, not a late move, but when the move was made, it was made decisively and clearly. It's I'm coming, and you gave them time to respond. So that is how a pass is done. That was exceptional.
Now Falcon is in a very, very good position to win this race. He's out in the lead. He has, well, obviously a bit more pace than Granis right now. So he can, if he holds it together, you know, put his own pace into the track. While in the back, Coelho, who might be his biggest rival right now, is stuck behind Walker and is stuck fighting with him. So he cannot put his ultimate pace down on the track.
Absolutely, and still with that 5-second penalty, even if he catches up to Felion somehow in the next 8.5 or so minutes, he still has to worry about getting 5 seconds ahead. And what is this super inside line here from Walker and Cuello? That has got to be a very interesting set of defense and a level of commitment I don't think I've ever seen. Most people, once they see that door is pretty much closed, they're backing out, but Cuello says no thank you. So gets around the Aston.
I was not expecting that line from Curlier to work, but well, Walker went a bit deeper than Curlier did, and it worked out for him.
He did.
That was a very, very interesting uptake.
Yeah, I don't know if my eyes were playing tricks on me, but I feel like Walker may have lifted a little bit on the brakes to try to avoid contact, and that's what sent him deep. Again, I could have been completely missing the situation. Wow, that was... I didn't even notice that Barton was there. That looked terrifying. And no, and Vining goes off along with Walker. And all that work Vining has done has just been thrown away.
Oh.
What in the world happened? They get around Barton, and then it looks like he just gets onto the grass. It's like he just followed Walker's line, and unfortunately they both go off. Walker was able to recover a lot faster, but Vining right down to P8. He was on track for that podium finish, but now he is absolutely nowhere close to it, and he's got 7 minutes to try and climb his way back.
That is a very easy mistake to make, especially in the dark. If you have very few points to orient yourself on, and the driver in front makes a mistake, then there's a really good chance that you're gonna follow them into that mistake. And that mistake was obviously, invited by Barton, who was sort of in the way in the S there, but of course not, his own fault.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely caught out the faster drivers behind, and definitely, broke their concentration enough that they made that little mistake.
But here's the thing, if I'm not mistaken, memory should serve, when you come out of the S's and you go over the hill, it's blind.
It absolutely is, yeah.
And like we've said with these nighttime conditions, as we see the stars come out, you have only so much to work off of with the headlights. So, during the day you say, oh, well, I can see, this, and I can say, well, if I'm on like this side of like a tree or something, okay, I'm gonna be going off. But at night you don't have that option, as we see a touch in the background there from the Bentley. So we're gonna roll that one back. Is this also up the hill? Yes, it is. The hill appears to be taking more victims than Cheetah.
It is such a tempting place to try a pass, and it will work if you have cooperation. But 5 and 6 minutes left in the race, Cooperation is a lot to ask for. That was not really an overlap by the time they got in there, but I can absolutely see how both of them thought they'd given somebody a lane.
Absolutely.
Kyalami has a lot of overtaking spots, but none of them are easy. None of them are, they all carry a certain risk, and that was a perfect example of that, especially in the nights, because, as you said, that corner is blind as it is. And then in the nights, there's even less to go off of. You can't really go off of the road, because, it dips down over a crest just before you have to start braking into that corner. So the only real reference you have in the dark is a little TV camera tower on the left. And especially if there's a driver in front of you, you're getting a bit blinded by their taillights, by however much they are illuminating the track in front of them. It's hard to stick to your proper reference points.
It's also a strange corner in the fact that there's 2 or 3 lines in there that all seem to develop sort of the same speed through the corner. You can do this sort of traditional wide in and across. There's another line where you kind of come in halfway and don't use the whole track. So even if you're not making a move on somebody, you might be taking a very different line in, and because of that, having a different speed than them at various points in that corner.
Yeah, different cars definitely have different lines there. Now, I think for every car there's pretty much one fastest line, but that fastest line is often a pretty tricky and dangerous one, so a lot of drivers will not go to the very outside of the track, especially in these dark conditions where you don't really have a lot of, reference points to go off.
But it's a lot
And
of
those
fun.
different cars, different lines per car, that adds, a whole new element of danger to it, because you're only used to your own line of your own car. You don't know what the other car is gonna do, what the other car is gonna take, into that corner.
Yeah, and especially with the closing minutes of this, we talked earlier about the desperate moves, and like you said, Kyalami has spots you can overtake it, absolutely. And these drivers are trying to maybe force the issue a little bit, especially in places where they should not really be doing that in these conditions. So, and like you said with the other cars and the different lines and how you may have to sort of step out of your line in order to keep your car pointed in the right direction, it just adds this whole extra element that some may not be fully, acclimated with just yet.
And again, first race of the season, we've practicing our backsides off, but there is nothing like getting out there with people at this skill level and thrashing it out. It's different race day. Anybody who does this hobby knows that. There's a different level of adrenaline. There's a different feeling to it. And the only way you get better is to do it more and more. And for first race of the season, we've had 6 weeks off since the last season. This has been, I think, overall some exceptional racing.
Yeah, and with the plan, you can practice and plan, and you do all this, but as the great Mike Tyson once said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And
Yes.
in racing, it's you're not physically getting punched in the mouth, but you definitely have moments with drivers where it feels like that punch. And you kind of take the playbook and you say, you know what? I don't need this. I got to think of a different plan altogether. And that's something that definitely is shaken up with these super sprint races, I feel like.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about concentration, and one of the big things is that sort of self-control. Right? By now, at this point in the second race of the night, there's probably somebody whose number is on a list in your head somewhere. There's probably somebody you were a little bit thinking, I wish they'd spin out. But you got to get through all that and keep concentrating and just drive what you can drive at this point to get what is left. We're 1 minute left. These guys are on we're going to get one more lap. It looks like Felton is going to get around to start the 24th lap, and that's going to be that. We still got some great races going on, but it's coming to an end. And I got to say again, the talent floated to the front. There we are, Colio, even with the 5-second penalty, I believe is going to. Oh, maybe not. They might not hold on to that podium.
Oh, he might. No, he's ahead by like, he has maybe, once the penalty is applied, half a second gap. All things considered, it's going to be close. It's going to be very, very close to see towards the end. Ben Human's in the pits. I don't know what that's all about. I saw someone say F in chat, and I immediately looked and I saw Human. So hopefully it wasn't the same issue that Ferguson had. But yeah, time has expired. So if you haven't made a move and you're close enough to make one, there may be no better time than the present. Cairns is in a very good spot right now to pick up at least one position, potentially two here. But I feel like right now the story is really Fallion. You know, he started, you know, obviously not at the best position, but worked his way up, and then was on the back of Granias for just the longest time, and then eventually got the move done down into turn 2, and then, well, he's just built that gap up. It's well over 5 seconds now, so that just goes to show you what can happen when you let the fast guys through.
What a comeback story, I gotta say. Tiny little mistake in race 1 that basically cost him a safe podium, maybe even a win. But then he came back from P13 to, well, honestly a quite dominant finish, right? 7 seconds ahead of P2 right now.
Yep, and he's gotten through Cheetah, the last tricky corner. So Fellion, from down the grid, climbs his way up, and he will cross the line here to take the victory, as well as the fastest lap that he's had for quite a while. Granias getting around that final corner as well will make it a Ferrari 1-2, happy little wiggles. And Cuello, I believe, is far enough ahead from Ryan Walker and crew. Hazel doing a little bit of victory slides. She'll come home in P4. So Walker gets demoted, I believe, to possibly P6. Yeah, Parks with that 5 seconds, so he'll be sitting there. Hearns could get a promotion. We'll see once penalties are applied. It's been quite a race though for everybody. Cairns right now in 11th. Vischer doesn't really have to do much of anything. He's just got to cross the line here. Even if Guerrero gets around him, doesn't matter. He's got 25 seconds onto his name. Hendrickson will absolutely get promoted up, and Barton will unfortunately have to stay in P15. But for Ian Barton, I feel like, you know, with him, we saw him at the back of last race, and he was at the back of this race, but I don't think that's anything to be really too ashamed about. It's a good way to kind of gauge yourself and say, all right, you know, if I'm starting at the back, I'm starting at the back, so be it. Set that baseline and say, okay, if I can do better than this position, well, that's an improvement. You know, I'm assuming it's probably his first season in, so he shouldn't be too discouraged or too demotivated, because I mean, you're doing the best you can, especially in the Mercedes, in a car that's not historically good here at Kyalami, but you know, as long as you keep the car in one piece, I don't really think it's too much of an issue.
I'm impressed with him. I saw him have a pretty big crash on lap 1. Carried some pretty big damage away from that, but he stuck it out. He finished the entire race. Basically, let's say 38 minutes with that sort of damage. I don't think a lot of drivers would have done that. A lot of drivers would have retired, called it a day. But he stuck it out, probably learned a lot of things, so big props to him.
Yep,
and on top of all of that, they also did an exceptional job of staying out of the way. Getting lapped is a skill. And when the leaders came around, it was still nip and tuck. That race was absolutely in flux, and they got out of the way without losing too much time. And while they were near that incident, they were in no way the cause of that incident. The distraction there was on the part of the drivers going around them. It was in no part Barton's fault. So, and again, extra kudos for coming back out damaged and just grinding it out. That I appreciate that, because it's not easy to do. So we'll see them next week, and yeah, we'll see what they learn from this and how they improve from here.
All right. Well, before we go, we'll take a look at the final placement. So overall, it's Fellion, Granias, and Cuello actually getting to hold on to that P3, even with his penalty. Hazel getting P4, inviting, thankfully getting a P5 after penalties. Pro-Am, it's going to be Fellion, Walker, and Hearn, top 3 for that class. Amateur, Vischer, and Ferguson. And then those who have yet to be placed, it'll be Hazel, Parks, and Hendrickson, and of course, safety car on top as always. But ladies and gentlemen, this is where we are going to close it out tonight. EU has just gotten started, and they've got 6 more weeks of racing ahead of them. Kevin and myself will be back later tonight for the North American split, so if you can't sleep and you're looking for some noise to help you continue to not fall asleep, then we are going to be live at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll be going for quite some time as we've got 2 races, or 2 splits to get through. Simon, although I assume, is probably done for this evening.
Yep, no more NA commenting for me. It's gonna be probably at 2:30 in the morning, so I'd rather call it a day.
All right, well, gentlemen, closing thoughts on this evening's events?
I'm again just overall impressed. The talent, the driver talent pool in Europe is deep and quality racing. I'm very much looking forward to coming back and seeing how this all plays out. Some statements got made tonight. We'll see who can back them up over the next 6 weeks.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Simon, anything else you'd like to say before we go?
Hey, I mean, it was a pleasure. It was beautiful fun watching these people. A lot of, well, old names returning to show that they've still got it. Even new names showing up to perhaps mix up the field in the future. It's going to be an exciting season. I'm really going to be looking forward to it. And I'm also going to be looking forward to, you know, gaining this experience of commentating on a season. Or as a championship, when so far I've only been racing, I've been stewarding, I've actually driven the safety car a few times, but now in this new commentating chair, it's you know, something entirely new again for me, but I'm looking forward to it.
Well, you guys have taken the words out of my mouth. It's great to be back in the booth, honestly. It's been a while since I've been here. I keep myself kind of practice with my own things, but OOR is a completely different beast. But ladies and gentlemen, we are off for this evening. For those of you in Europe, as I said earlier, we will be back later for the North American split. So if you're going to be awake, we'll be happy to see you. But on behalf of myself, Kevin, Simon, and everybody here at the OOR, we'd like to thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed your stay. We thank you, as always, for your continued support. But that'll do it tonight. Have a good one, everybody.
Night.